Hi there, this is Magenta Pixie. I'd just like to talk to you about a couple of posts I've made recently on my social media platforms in response to a question. So I'll go ahead. The question is, Magenta, I believe I'm a starseed. I've been on this journey since 2020, but I have yet to really know or understand my abilities. I believe I do have some, but I just don't know what they are yet. And sometimes I think I feel blocked. But I'm also trying my best to trust the process. So I have had many questions of a similar vein. People who feel that they're not quite there with the potential that they could be, and they feel as though they're blocking themselves or self-sabotaging themselves, or if in some way their abilities just haven't come online yet, if you will. So I actually responded to that, and this is what I said. When it comes to having opportunities to move into higher spiritual experiences, then feeling like you are stuck or deliberately stopping yourselves from going further is very common. I've done this many times myself, as in stopping myself going further because you're going into the unknown. Moving into these higher experiences and merging in full oneness can feel scary because it's the unknown, yet it's beautiful at the same time and you want it. When you take an ascension and enlightenment path, then choices open up for you in multiple, varied and abundant ways. Now, someone also asked me if it's possible that you can reincarnate again. So I replied and said, you can absolutely reincarnate again. You can reincarnate either again in a third dimensional reality, or you could incarnate as an ascension guide for others, as you've been through it yourself, or you could incarnate into fifth dimensional planets and potentially higher dimensions, depending on what your soul needs to experience. Or you can incarnate into less dense, less physical realities where all memories are intact. You can feel the dualistic incarnation and full source merge simultaneously throughout that entire incarnation, should you choose to do so. There's so much choice available when it comes to incarnating into another form, again, after you transition from your current incarnation. So do not feel you've held yourself back, because everything is part of the learning. So holding yourself back is part of the learning. Feeling stuck is part of the learning. How can you truly understand what it is to freely go forward if you haven't experienced deliberately holding yourself back or feeling as though you're stuck? Many souls on the enlightenment and ascension path will have experienced this at some point and be concerned that they're somehow missing out or that they're late to the party. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Spiritual unity is a circle, a spiral in fact, but that's more complex. Let's just see it for now as a circle. Wherever you join that circle, you are in the same place as all your other selves and all the others on the same journey. So you just join the journey and you're there in the circle. No one's in front of you. No one gets left behind once they make the choice to take that quantum leap. And then you look back and you realize that your greatest learning came from the times you thought you were shut off or held back or stuck, because those times gave you the contrast to momentum and unity with Source and Christ consciousness. You got the contrast from what it feels like to be going forward, and that's the momentum. So that was more or less the reply to that question. Someone asked also about waking others up. Is it our role to wake other people up spiritually when we become awakened? So I did make a post on social media specific to that question and similar questions within this topic. And this is what I wrote. When in the process of awakening, it is tempting to want to shout from the rooftops your newfound knowledge and freedom. Change takes place upon awakening, but that change is within. It's not necessarily with others around you. They may change by watching you, and they may be influenced by you as you live by example. But attempting to change or awaken another, if they're not ready, will almost always backfire on you. So be the change you want to see in the world rather than attempting to change the world to the way that you want to see it. However, this doesn't mean you cannot work energetically to create awakening and change per se. You can indeed do this, for that is all part of you working on yourself as you expand your light body outwards into the cosmos and antimatter realms. All change takes place most dramatically and in alignment with all that is needed from the energetic point as seed to that manifestation. Going outwards is therefore going inwards, and involves you and those who stand as like-minded and like energetic matches to all that is you. So what I'm saying here is, it's tempting to want to wake others up when we discover a new truth, be it something in the third dimensional reality or a higher dimensional truth, a spiritual truth. And the experiences that we have and the knowledge that we gain really are so profound and so life-changing that we want to share it with everyone. Not to mention the fact that when this occurs, we are initiated and we do feel bliss. We feel like we're falling in love. We feel like euphoria. And we want to share that with our loved ones. And of course, we don't understand when we're met with a defiance and a backlash, as in backfiring on you, whether that be a truth to do with something that's occurring in our media, something that's occurring in the world, or whether it's a spiritual truth or a spiritual experience or an initiation, because they haven't experienced what you have experienced. Only those receptive, the ones that are just on that precipice of moving into the discovery of truth or a spiritual experience themselves, they will listen. They will want to know what your experience is, because it will be similar to theirs, or it will give them some insight into what they know inside that they are about to feel themselves, or that they're about to discover for themselves. But if they're not there, they won't be able to connect with you. They will feel as though, you're so far away from them. They'll think you're crazy, all these things, and they rigidly hold on to the reality that they are in. I've spoken about this before. So this was the post that I made on social media in response to questions about, should we be awakening others, and also a question about our own awakening and feeling as though we're stuck, we're not going forward. And I spoke about how there's no right or wrong way to do this, and about joining that circle. A lot of people will look at another person and think, wow, they're so spiritually advanced and they've got so much knowledge. I'll never, ever be like that. I don't know where they're getting their knowledge from. And it makes them feel as though they are, in some way inferior or second rate. I recently had an email from someone who was saying, that very thing, really, that they felt inadequate to others, and looked at other spiritual teachers and saw what they were doing. And they actually talked about my own work and how sometimes they didn't understand the channeled material. And I said, not everyone is supposed to work with words as a scribe, as a writer, or someone who is a communicator, as a speaker. Not everyone is here to do that. If this whole Ascension Earth situation and battle for Earth's freedom, if you will, was so simple to be carried out simply by the spoken word, then there wouldn't be the diversity that there is. Some of the individuals here that are taking part in this ascension process are artists, and they become artists, or they already have the codes within them to be an artist in multiple ways, as in not just in painting and drawing, but digital art, jewelry making, the creation of toys or ornaments or clothing or blankets or whatever it may be. They're creative individuals, but they their knowledge, their spiritual awakening into their work. And it's then seen by others, it's experienced by others. Same with musicians. They put their knowing into their music, whether it's lyrics to a song or whether it's the musical notes themselves. So just because one person appears to be talking about all this amazing spiritual wisdom, that doesn't mean because you're not doing that you are inferior to that person. You're different. You're different. I've got a friend who is a wonderful, I'll mention her name's Dawn Holliday. She's the most wonderful painter, artist. I find her artwork to be just so beautiful and so inspiring. And her artwork really opens my heart because she's clearly connected to the elemental realm, and she sees the images in the elemental realm so clearly and projects them onto the canvas, if you will, so beautifully and so accurately, as in not necessarily the image itself, which is going to be different to each individual person's experience of hyperspace, but the codes, as in the emotions and the energy experiences, are accurately presented in her artwork. I couldn't possibly do that. I could never paint or draw like she does. If I tried to draw a rabbit, I'd just have a little stick man, or it'd just be lines with a couple of ears that look like just diagonal lines, like a 3-year-old. I'm the most useless artist. I couldn't possibly do it. But I don't sit there and think, oh gosh, I'm so inferior to her. She's so advanced with her painting. I look and think, wow, I can recognize that talent. It's amazing. I am here to do something else. I work with the word, I work with writing, I work with speaking. So that's where my creative mission is, if you will. So that's what you need to do. Whether it's an artist, a musician, a channel, a fictional story writer, an actor, it doesn't mean that you have to be like that person, because there's no one like you. And every single human being has this genius ability within them, and this talent and this skill within them. And if you are awake, as in you're activated, and you don't have to be spiritual necessarily, it's just about the way you think. If you think in a more abstract way, and you don't think in this typical linear way, and you're not hijacked by our current reality and all the brainwashing that goes on, if you can think in an abstract, creative way, then you have that genius skill or talent within you. And it's just about finding what it is. And everyone has it. And so in a non-hijacked planetary system, everyone will have a creative stance, and others walk around, and not only do they honor those people for their creativity, but they become inspired for their own creativity through that person. So, for example, I could look at Dawn Holliday's artwork, and I could, channel a whole activation or write a poem or connect with the nine by looking at that painting. And I'm sure that it works the other way around. Dawn could listen to one of my channelings and be inspired to paint. And I've had that actually happen to me. I've had actually somebody write to me saying, it was music actually, I was inspired to create this piece of music by listening to one of your channeling. And it was interesting that when that person sent the music to me, that they were inspired to create by one of my channelings. I was then inspired to connect and draw down a new transmission because of the key and the code that was in the music. So we're all sharing this creative catalysts, triggers, codes. We're sharing them in a non-hijacked planetary system. In a hijacked one, that still goes on amongst the awake and aware individuals, because they create this fifth dimensional field and a bridge from the third dimension into that fifth dimensional field that they can cross. So that still goes on, but you bypass the third dimensional individuals who don't understand the creativity that you're showing them, they can perceive it in certain ways. So they'll just see art as a pretty picture, music as nice music, writing a nice story. They won't be able to look deeper or to draw more information and more inspiration from that. But those codes do still go in and they do still activate. That is the Great Awakening, and that's what's happening now in a huge, massive way. And we're going to see more and more of that for the rest of this year in 2022, that's for sure. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. Thanks for sticking with me. This is Magenta Pixie, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye.